The Jinn of the Abandoned Village. Long ago, in a remote village nestled in the hills of Arabia, there was a place shrouded in fear and mystery. The villagers would often speak in hushed tones of Al-Wadi al-Maḥjūr, the abandoned valley. It was said that the land was cursed, abandoned by its people many generations ago. The once thriving village, known for its lush gardens and flowing streams, was now nothing but ruins, silent and desolate. The legend began with a young man named Faris, who lived in a neighboring village. His curiosity was unmatched, and he loved stories, especially those involving the supernatural. When the elders spoke of Al-Wadi al-Maḥjūr, his heart would race with excitement. He could never understand why the villagers were so afraid to speak about it. To him, it was just a tale, a myth, perhaps just a village superstition. One fateful evening, Faris, driven by the need to uncover the truth, decided to venture into the abandoned valley. He had heard rumors of strange lights seen in the distance, voices calling out from the shadows, and ghostly figures in the dark. He couldn't resist the urge to discover the truth. He set out under the cover of night, knowing that the journey would take him through the rugged hills and treacherous paths leading into the forsaken land. As he walked, the wind grew colder, and the sounds of the world around him faded into an eerie silence. There were no birds, no rustling leaves, just the stillness of the night. Upon reaching the entrance of the village, Faris felt a chill run down his spine. The air was thick, heavy with a strange and foreboding presence. The village was surrounded by crumbling walls, and within, the remains of abandoned homes stood like hollow sentinels. As he ventured deeper into the village, he noticed an old mosque in the center, its minaret broken and its once beautiful calligraphy worn away by time. But what caught his attention was the strange symbol etched into the door, an unfamiliar mark, like a twisted crescent moon surrounded by a series of interlocking lines. Curiosity piqued, Faris entered the mosque. As he stepped inside, the temperature seemed to drop further, and the air grew thick with a sense of unease. The walls were adorned with faded verses from the Quran, but something was off. Something felt wrong. The verses seemed to shimmer as though they were not written with ink, but with something darker, more sinister. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the mosque. It was low, gravelly, and seemed to come from all directions. "Why do you disturb us, O mortal?" Faris froze. He had heard stories of the Jinn, beings created from smokeless fire who could be benevolent or malevolent depending on how they were treated. The voice continued, growing louder, filling the mosque with an oppressive presence. "You should not have come," the voice warned. "This place is cursed. It was once home to those who sought to control us, to harness our power. But they were foolish, and their arrogance led to their downfall. Now, we are trapped here, bound to this forsaken land, and you, like them, will be lost forever." Faris's heart pounded in his chest as the darkness around him deepened. Shadows seemed to stretch and twist, taking on strange, menacing forms. He knew then that the village had been abandoned not by coincidence, but by force, driven out by the wrath of the Jinn. In a panic, Faris turned to run, but the door slammed shut before him, trapping him inside. The shadows closed in on him, and he could hear whispering voices, indistinguishable but full of malice. He remembered what his elders had said. "Never disturb the Jinn, for they are vengeful creatures. What you seek may come at a terrible price." Just as he felt he might be consumed by the darkness, a light flickered in the corner of the mosque. It was a small but brilliant flame. Faris, desperate and terrified, rushed toward it. As he approached, he realized the flame was coming from a small, old lantern placed on a pedestal in front of the mosque's mihrab. The voice spoke again, this time softer, almost pleading. "Do not touch that lantern, mortal. It is cursed." But Faris, in his panic and desperation, ignored the warning. He reached out and grabbed the lantern. The moment his fingers touched it, the ground beneath him trembled, and a powerful force swept through the mosque. The Jinn howled in fury as their presence grew ever stronger, suffocating the air around him. But as Faris held the lantern, he remembered a lesson his father had taught him. If you are ever in danger, call upon the name of Allah and trust in His power to protect you. With all his might, Faris recited the verse from Surah Al-Falaq, 113, 1:5, seeking refuge from the evil around him. The moment he finished, a powerful light engulfed the mosque, and the oppressive darkness began to retreat. The Jinn screeched, their power breaking as they were forced back into the shadows. As the light faded, Faris found himself standing alone, the lantern now dim and lifeless in his hands. The village was silent again, but the weight of the terror he had just endured still clung to him. The voice of the Jinn echoed one last time, a whisper on the wind. "You have escaped. But remember this, mortal. Do not meddle with the unseen, for there are powers beyond your understanding." Faris quickly left the village, the horrors of that night etched forever in his mind. He returned to his family, who were relieved to see him safe, but they knew he would never be the same. Faris learned a powerful lesson that night. The unseen world is not something to be trifled with. The Jinn, while created by Allah, are not to be underestimated or disturbed. It is through faith in Allah and seeking His protection that one can truly find safety. The greatest power lies not in the ability to control what is unseen, but in submitting to Allah's will and trusting in His guidance. From that day on, Faris never spoke of the Jinn again, and whenever he found himself in doubt or fear, he would turn to the Quran and remember the lesson he had learned in that abandoned village. The unseen world is real, and Allah's protection is the only true safeguard against its dangers.